Okay, so we're recording. Thanks everyone for coming on back. Welcome to we've got people in Australia and in sunny Texas today, which is pretty cool. And I want to start, as always, by just acknowledging that I'm recording from the traditional lands of the Dja Dja Wurrung people, and pay my respects to elders past, present, emerging, any Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander, or indeed First Nations people watching live or watching on catch up. So something a little bit different today, but not too different, is I got this beautiful book this week, which I'll see if I can show you, just an illustrated version of the Tao Te Ching, which you might have read. This translation is by Stephen Mitchell, who's a American guy, so that's pretty cool. California. So this is the page I'm going to read from today. Beautiful illustrations, and I really recommend this book if you're looking for something cool and something that for people who don't spend hours and hours reading, it's like that's like a chapter, so it's it's pretty manageable. So I'm going to read a little bit from that. We'll do a little bit of practice, and as we practice today, we're going to try something a little bit different. As we're doing the things, I'm just going to talk a little bit through why I'm directing your attention certain ways, or why we're doing those certain things, so that you can hopefully deepen your understanding and just be a little different experience. So I'm going to start as we always start. If you either close your eyes, find somewhere to look where you won't be distracted, and just shift your attention to the breath. Notice what it feels like to breathe. So notice how the air feels coming in through your mouth or nose, going out again. You can notice the temperature difference between in-breath and out-breath. You can notice how your shoulders move, how your chest moves with the breath. And whenever I talk today, whenever I'm explaining, don't get too hung up on the words. Let the words come. But keep feeling your breath, your body. See if you can stay anchored in that awareness as you listen. So the reason we're switching attention to feeling the breath, and why I like to start with that, is that all of us have been lost in thought this morning or this evening, depending on where in the world we are. And when we shift attention to feeling the breath, to feeling the body, we find that we can't be lost in thought and feeling that physical sensation at the same time. If we're lost in thought, we won't notice the body so much. And if we're really feeling the body, feeling the breath, we need to have our attention detached from thought to be able to do that. So as we feel the breath come and go, we're moving from thinking to direct experience. And in a sense, that's our whole practice. Well, that's our whole beginning practice, is to learn to shift attention from thinking, from thought, story, past, future, to the direct experience of breath, of body, of now. Just feel that. Experience it directly. Whenever you get lost in a thought, just bring your attention back to the breath. See if you can get curious about your experience right now without moving into labeling, judging. Now, labeling and judging happens without our permission, so we don't need to stop that either, but we can, the effort that we make is to allow that to happen without joining it, without getting lost in that process. Just allowing that to unfold. So I'm going to read this passage from the Tao Te Ching, which really fits with the theme of today, which is around release and around unlearning. And I'll talk about that some more a little later, unless I forget. So the passage goes like this. In the pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. And that's what we're used to when we learn something as Westerners, particularly. So we're adding something, some new skill, some new concept. In the practice of the Tao, which is another way of saying in the practice of meditation, mindfulness, every day something is dropped. And when we say something in this concept, we're talking about our attachment to thoughts, to beliefs, to identity. So every day something is dropped. Less and less do you need to force things until you arrive at non-action. Non-action meaning not the absence of action, but action that arises naturally out of this awareness that we're stepping into, out of this space of presence, of connectedness with breath and body. In that space, we don't become passive, but what occurs to us to do will be in much better alignment with what's needed right now. When nothing is done, nothing is left undone. True mastery can be gained by letting things go their own way. It can't be gained by interfering. So as we sit and we breathe, we can consider the question, what is true mastery? What are we talking about? And we could equally call it true happiness, true contentment, true connection. True mastery is not mastery in the sense of control or some kind of success. It's mastery of this, our own inner process. So true mastery can be gained by letting things go their own way. So as we breathe, we're allowing the stories that arise to go their own way. We have no interest in controlling them or changing them. So as you breathe, just see if you can watch what thoughts arise. See if you can watch them as they disappear. And see if you can allow them to do that. True mastery can be gained by letting things go their own way. It can't be gained by interfering. And what we've been doing our whole lives, what we've been conditioned to do, is to interfere. We've been taught that we need to fix things, to change things. And so quite naturally, we bring that approach, we bring that intention and that energy to this inner practice as well. And we interfere with the thoughts that arise, the stories. We interfere with the emotions that come. And we know, if we've done that long enough, we know that true happiness doesn't come by interfering. It comes by letting things go their own way. And in a sense, our mastery is learning to master where we place attention. That's what we're practicing. So as we breathe and we watch those thoughts, notice what emotions are arising in your body right now too. What feelings are there as you scan the body from head to foot? What stands out? What do you notice? And see if you can welcome those emotions. See if you can welcome them and allow them to come and to go in their own space and time without interfering. We've been conditioned to fear emotions, to fear thoughts. But as you watch, you can notice that you're not the feeling, you're not the thought. You are the awareness that's watching all of that come and go. You're the master of your domain, of this space, not in a controlling way, but you're there on the mountaintop watching the clouds float past, watching the sun rise and set, enjoying the show. And this is true mastery. This is what's being spoken of, is this knowing yourself as the awareness. And our passage says that in this practice, every day something is dropped, something is put down. And what we put down when we sit and we watch in this way is that attempt to interfere and control your inner experience. It's the first thing that we need to put down. We put down our resistance to what's arising inside. And as soon as we put that down and we do let things go their own way, then we can move back into being here, watching as the awareness. As this vast, unchangeable, untouchable awareness. The one thing in your life that's never changed. And please continue to feel your body and feel your breath and watch. There's no need to analyze or understand these words. And again, we talk about releasing and unlearning. We can release the need to understand logically what's being said. We can let go of the need to get a final answer, to put that knowledge into a box of the known. We can sit and breathe in this curious space of not knowing, not understanding. There's no need to understand. Mastery is not about understanding this any more than a surfer needs to understand how waves are formed. Our practice is to stand here, alert, attentive, in the middle of everything coming and going, and to ride this wave that we call life. To engage in this universal dance. Knowing ourselves not as the one who's dancing, but as the awareness, the attention that's watching it all unfold. So, whatever arises in this space is fine. However lost you get, that's fine too. Letting things go their own way. Letting go of interference. Letting go of our habits of playing with the imaginary, the past, the future. Our habits of trying to control thoughts, feelings, externals. Indeed, letting go of our very addiction to thinking itself. And all this is accomplished simply by moving attention from being absorbed in thought, lost in thought, identified with thought, to being the watcher of thought. The observer of the stories. And attention is energy. It's powerful. And so when we invest attention in the stories and the drama, then they become empowered and they become loud and boisterous, and bossy and controlling. And when we pull that attention back and notice ourselves as the awareness and invest attention there, then your true self starts to emerge from the background. Starts to move more fully into this world. So our practice becomes a process of just continually putting things down, putting down beliefs and thoughts and identity. And for most of us, the way we know that we need to put something down is that it hurts to keep holding it. Is that we suffer when we hang on to it. And one of the things that makes us suffer, that we're terrified to let go of generally, is certainty. There's a sense of knowing what is good, what is bad, what should or shouldn't be happening, what is right and what is wrong. And this is part of our interfering as well. It's that when things happen, when they come, we call them bad, we call them wrong, we tell them they need to change. That we might sit here and feel the breath and say, yeah, I want to let everything what was the phrase? I want to let everything go its own way. I want to let things go their own way. Until our partner leaves us, or our child becomes angry and throws something, or until our government does something that we see as cruel and wrong. And then so quickly we move from this open space of not knowing into knowing, certainty, judgment, evaluation. And so this is our practice too in our daily life, to recognize when we suffer that it's not the situation, the person causing our suffering, it's our attachment to the belief. It's our certainty that things should be different that creates the gap between reality and our desire. And the wider that gap is, the more we suffer. And this is why there are so many human stories of people finding happiness in what seem like terrible circumstances. and so many stories of people who are depressed and anxious and sad and lonely, people who have everything that other people want: money, fame, status, and all these things. So we can see clearly that happiness or suffering is not created by external circumstances. It's created by our relationship to thought. And so we sit here together and we learn to let things go their own way. And we learn to let go of interfering. Not not all at once. Not for me anyway. But in this series of tiny steps, this series of almost imperceptible movements, not towards something, but away. We've become lost in thought, hypnotized by it, and we're slowly edging backwards. We're slowly gaining perspective. And as you sit here now and just breathe and feel and watch, that perspective might be there. And then when you walk away from this and something happens, or you remember something, or someone says something, you might find yourself absorbed in that thought stream once more. And so our practice is to be gentle with ourselves and acknowledge that that is part of the process. And when we notice, to just come back. And the other side of it, what we can do is to really appreciate and absorb the feeling of peace and contentment that's here when we do let everything go its own way. When we do allow everything to be as it is. So you can notice as you sit, and as we move in between these two states of certainty, knowing, lost in thought, and of curiosity, openness, and not knowing, we can notice the difference between those states, the difference in how we feel, how the body feels, how the heart feels, how the mind functions. Because the voice in our heads, the voice of the storyteller, will tell us that we're missing out on something if we don't engage with thought in our usual way. We don't lose ourselves in stories. That voice will tell us that feeding the addiction to knowing is the best way to find happiness. That if we do that, we will find happiness in the future. But we can check that against our own experience of what it feels like to be absorbed in thought, to be obsessed with the future, with past. How that feels in the body, how unnatural it feels. That if we were taking a substance or eating something that made the body feel that way, we wouldn't continue to do it unless it was a serious addiction. So waking up to the effect of believing those thoughts is truly powerful. And noticing how freeing it is and how it feels to not know, to be uncertain, to be curious and interested. I mean, notice how peaceful and content and connected that feels. It tells us what our true path is. It helps us see through the lies of the storyteller. So before we move out of this practice and into maybe some questions or some reflections, I just want to read this passage one more time, just right through. In the pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In the practice of the Tao, every day something is dropped. Less and less do you need to force things until finally you arrive at non-action. When nothing is done, nothing is left undone. True mastery can be gained by letting things go their own way. It can't be gained by interfering. So I want to invite you in your own time, when you're ready, to open your eyes, to stretch the body in the way that feels right now. Maybe drink some of your tea. I always make tea for these, but I never seem to drink it, so I talk too much. And if you want to turn cameras back on for people who've turned them off, that's fine. If you don't, that's totally cool as well. And a little bit different session today, so I just wanted to invite your observations, what you noticed, and what, I guess, if anything stood out to you in what was said or what you noticed in your own experience of that practice.
I notice I'm very low on battery. Like 10% left.
You personally, or your device?
The device. Yeah. No, I really understood what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. That kind of hit home to me. Kind of what you resist persists, you know. That's how it seemed to me anyway. Stop forcing the issue.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like that. I like that kind of thinking of attention as energy. So when we resist it, we're also actually feeding it with our attention, our energy, because we're pouring all this energy into the situation or the thought or whatever. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it really strengthens it.
Yeah, no, I think that was really great, and I like the reading too. So yeah.
I enjoyed the reading too, Ollie. I enjoyed the reading too, Ollie. I'm a bit late jumping on, sorry, but went straight to it. So my audience with me today is Cat, Marvin.
You got the cat.
Bill,
okay.
Cat, Marvin.
Lots of pets joining in today, which is cool.
Sally sleeping. Yes, no kids, even though there's still remnants of children. A bit different this morning. So, but the cat, they've all got to be in and near where I am whenever I'm sitting quietly, which is interesting in itself that children and animals are attracted to be near your stillness, which I like that. So it does show us, and it's a reminder to watch, you know, how easily animals settle into doing nothing and just going to sleep or something, you know, and all of a sudden something takes their attention and then that's it. So they're so much in the moment. Yeah, I enjoyed hearing you talk those passages, the towers. Yeah, it's to the concept of you know, non-interfering, let things go their own way. You know, do we apply that? You know, we apply that in all aspects of our life. Are we applying that in our practice? Yes, I think it works. In other aspects of our life too, it can work, or can at least be work if you step back and notice when you're maybe attending to want to interfere, or that, whether you call it that, or to do something. And if you get caught up in that, it may lead to more distress or not what you intended anyway. So to step back and remind yourself of that, to let things go their own way, is a good one. I will remember that today.
Me too.
Yeah, said my voice. Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
About over in Texas, any evening, got some bit of evening sky happening there. It's pretty cool.
Yes, the moon rose while you were talking.
Yeah.
Hanging out behind me.
So beautiful.
We had a nice little rain shower, so I've got a beautiful sunset out that way and the moon rising behind me that way.
Wow. It's those simple things so beautiful, hey?
Yeah.
I liked it that way. I like doing it. I liked it with the reading, and it gives me something to focus on, because I'm pretty scattered, obviously, right? And like I'm all over the place all the time, and so it gives me to focus on. And I think it's as adults, I think, or maybe I shouldn't even say as adults, I tend to want to interfere with everything. And so instead of allowing things to happen in the way that they should, I want to orchestrate it the way that I want it to go. And so it really kind of hit home, you know, that it's you kind of let things happen. It's in practice, whether it's in the moment or whether it's in everyday life. You know, you can't orchestrate life. It's not my painting session and I get to paint the whole thing. Like,
Yeah.
no. So it hit home. It was good. It was good tonight. I needed that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good to hear. Because I think, I think all of us want to orchestrate things. It's kind of, we've got a picture of life would work out and everything would be good if only people would do this, or if only the world would be like that. But I think, you know, we're 2020 is the year of learning that we don't have much control, isn't it? That plans don't mean anything. And all these things that seem like immovable objects, like, we always have the Olympics and we always do this and we always do that, and then they just go, no, sorry, not happening. Not happening. And I think it's a great time to become more comfortable with that and to learn. I think what I like about that passage as well is it moves into this kind of non-doing where we're still active and we're still responding to the moment. You know, like we're all staying home, and that's an active choice, even though it might feel passive. But we're actively doing that to, because it seems like the right thing to do at the time, or we're not. But it's moving into that, you know, action without doing it to try to get a certain result. That we're just acting out of this connection, this inner connection, this inner stillness, and then doing what comes naturally out of that. And I think that's, you know, it's a really beautiful practice. So yeah, like you were saying, Jen, it's like we can, you know, sometimes, like, it's easy to sit and watch our thoughts in a way and not do anything with them. But it's hard to sit and watch a loved one do something that we think is not great for them. Or it's hard to sit and watch our kids fight and not interfere, or so, you know, what we're letting go of in some ways is our knowing what's right or what should happen, and that we can still take action and support, knowing that we don't know what the outcome should be. That makes sense. So I think, you know, it's quite subtle in a way, but it's a really beautiful practice.
Yeah, it is. Each week's been a different experience, but yeah, really, really worthwhile. So yeah, keep it going. I'm not sure where you're getting these, thoughts and ideas, or whether it's going back over, and but it's a really nice little group that I feel that this, Tuesday morning at 11 a.m, but I'm not sure what time it is everywhere, but yeah, that's what it is here. It's just one of those things that,
well, it's like it's 8 p.m. in Texas, is that right?
8 p.m.
Monday night 8 p.m.
Monday night 8 p.m.
Yeah, you're the start to our week. You're the send off into the week for us.
That would be nice too, actually. Yeah, that would be good.
I think we figured out last week that it was 2 a.m. Tuesday in London,
Mm-hmm. That
someone
might
in
be a bit
there.
hard to make for some.
Yeah, well, someone jumped in, but that was pretty committed. For
Yeah.
next week, I was just saying earlier, Jen, next week,
Mm.
I'm going to move it to Wednesday.
Okay, yeah, change it up a bit.
So well, yeah,
Yeah.
I may have kids on a Tuesday sometimes, whereas I definitely don't
Yeah,
have them on a Wednesday at the moment. So
okay. It's a time. We got a time for that, Ollie?
yeah, I think we'll stick with 11 because that seems to work well.
11 on a Wednesday. Okay.
On a Wednesday.
Well, that could mean I won't have children either on that Wednesday, which I usually am doing juggling a child on my lap, and now it's just a cat, so that's much more quieter. So I've been able to, get here. Some good. Next Wednesday then. All right.
So next Wednesday at 11. If anyone's watching on catch up, you want to jump in live, and if anyone was wanting to look at that, that was what I was reading today.
What was
Tao Te Ching.
Okay, Tao Ching.
I don't know if you can see that. It's Stephen Mitchell's translation version of it.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
really good book and really good version. I think there's a few around, but I really like that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Good. I might have it in my library. Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. I'm
sign
just
off.
going to stop that recording.